Zoran Mamdani just got some terrible news for his pipe dream. There is yet another example of a city-run grocery store crashing and burning, this time in Kansas City. You know, as if the examples in Europe, Illinois, and even Baldwin, Florida weren't enough. He thinks that he's the exception, that somehow he can revolutionize New York City and make a city-run grocery store work for the very first time in history. Take a look at his campaign video.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zohran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you.
He clearly doesn't know the business economics of grocery stores because they are very difficult to run and the profit margins are incredibly tiny, which we'll get into later on in the video. But it's funny because he mentions dynamic pricing as if that's not standard practice in a lot of small margin businesses. The best example of this would be gas stations. Now, it would be one thing if it was just Mamdani out there as the extremist, as the fringe in his party, but unfortunately, the Democrats have a way of gravitating towards that fringe. You know, he puts this idea out there, and now the rest of the party is flocking to him. Elizabeth Warren was going on TV basically championing his entire idea and trying to make this mainstream.
He said, we've got a problem with entire food deserts where people can't get access to grocery stores. Said, I'd like to take a look at whether or not we can have some kind of, you know, like we do on military bases, you have some kind of support from the city government that says we're going to get some food grocery stores in areas that right now are food deserts. And by the way, it's a new and fresh plan for New York City, but it's been tried in other cities around the country and has had some real successes. So what I hear Mamdani saying is, I want to try things to make it work for working families. And you know what? This is how democracy works. A lot of people in New York City said, that sounds good to me. I'd rather try that than any of the other alternatives available to me. I support that.
Well, unfortunately for Elizabeth Warren, this latest example in Kansas City is just as bad as you can expect. It is the poster child, the textbook definition of what a state-run store could possibly look like. We're talking empty shelves, rotten produce, taxpayer money being flushed down the toilet. But don't just take my word for it. Here's what the local news in Kansas City had to say.
It's clear this Sunfresh at 31st and Prospect is struggling. This is the first section people see when they come in. There's barely any produce. A lot of the coolers and shelves around the store look the same way, empty. So shoppers have been asking us, if the store isn't closing, then where's all the food? A rotten smell comes through the door, and anywhere you turn, you'll see products that need food or deli.
I watch people walk in and walk out.
The grocery store has received financial assistance from the city, but has been unable to keep those shelves stocked in an area that in the past has often been referred to as a food desert.
Around here, a good thing don't last too long.
And it will impact a lot of people and a lot of families.
The city owns the Linwood Shopping Center. A nonprofit operates the grocery store.
Yeah, the city owns it, but how much do they pay for it to end up in that horrible, dismal, abysmal place? I mean, if you want to play a game, pause this video and guess how much the city paid. Leave it down in the comments. I'll give you the answer in 3, 2, and according to the Washington Post, Kansas City poured millions into a grocery store. It may still close. In this article, they reveal that that grocery store was bought by the city for $17 million. Now, that was just the initial purchase, the initial investment. They've had to pour money into this every single year to keep it afloat. In fact, according to the UK Daily Mail, shocking state of the $29 million total. In other words, they have spent $29 million total over the last few years to keep it afloat. And that's what we saw. Empty shelves, rotten produce, no one's coming in, no hot food. It's an absolute mess here, and it gets even worse. So apparently, this grocery store doesn't even get 4,000 customers a week. The place where I shop gets 4,000 customers, if not double that, each and every day. Even where my parents shop and they live out in the middle of nowhere, no offense, Their grocery store probably gets 2,000 to 4,000 people a day. This is just a total failure, especially when you consider that they've invested tens of millions of dollars into it. They get hundreds of thousands each and every year on top of that. But we shouldn't be surprised. We've seen this sort of failure before in the government whenever they try to do something that the private sector does better. The best example of this, of course, is the United States Postal Service. USPS hasn't really turned a profit, and in fact, they're known for losing money. Compare that to FedEx, a privately owned company, which has turned a profit pretty much every single year. Of course, it goes up and down depending on the year, but night and day difference there. And look, if the U.S. government, the federal government, can't even get USPS right, which is a much easier industry, how do we think that state-run, city-run grocery stores are going to fare even better? Because the margins, as I referenced earlier, are tiny. It is an incredibly difficult business. So, according to Grocery Drive, which is one of the largest trade magazines in that industry, the profit margin, on average, is 1.6%. And even for the major corporations, right, the ones that are nationwide, massive chains, they have a ton more support. It's not much better. Kroger, their margin, operating margin is 1.93%. I mean, that is hardly any room for error. No wonder they do dynamic pricing. They have to do it in order to make a profit here. And yet Zoran Mamdani thinks he's smarter than all of these people who have tried it before. I mean, you have a history of failure, not just in the U.S., but in Europe and, quite frankly, around the world, of state-run, city-run grocery stores failing abysmally. This Kansas City one's just the latest example. Like, you have to be arrogant to the utmost extreme to actually think you can pull that off. Especially when your only claim to fame is being a Nepo baby who raps in different accents and was cast in your mom's movie. Yeah, like, you're going to be the one to fix all of the financial problems of New York City and the world. Give me a break. But unfortunately, the problem here is that this isn't just an idea for the grocery market. This is his entire worldview, and it gets worse. It's far beyond just city-run grocery stores. But before I get to that, I would like to acknowledge Pregum 9019, Houston Sammy Girl, Peanuts, nice to meet you, Life is Good, thank you so much, and Codename Dad as the members of today's Governor's Club. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I am so glad that you enjoy. Well, like I said, it's not just his idea for food prices and grocery stores. He actually wants to do away with private property. Now, when most people think of private property, naturally, they think of what they own, right? Their houses, their cars, yada, yada, yada. But where does it end? In fact, this would actually get rid of private businesses eventually, if that's not where it starts. It always goes there. It swings to that extreme. This is Zoran Mamdani in his own words.
My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused. Right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that people try and play like gotcha games about these kinds of things. And it's like, look, I care more about whether somebody has a home.
Very scary stuff right there. Socialism, communism, Marxism, all the isms have been tried everywhere else, and yet all of these people think that they can be the one to make it work for the first time in history. Maybe it hasn't worked anywhere else because the idea just sucks. It's like, what is there to comprehend here? And look, Zoran Mamdani, right now, he is polling at the very top. He is considered the favorite to become New York City's next mayor. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Daniel, it's just New York City. It's just the coastal elites. It's just the blue states. The problem is that this is spreading. This is going to take over the Democrat Party. Not only was it Elizabeth Warren, but we now have people coming out defending him. Another one, for example, was Chris Murphy from Connecticut. Now, this is from a few weeks ago, back when they were debating the big, beautiful bill, but the point still stands.
Do you think so, that Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party?
Well, I think his message, his economic message, is the future of the party. I don't agree with everything he says or every position he holds, but what he's modeling for Democrats is a laser-like focus on power, on taking power from people who have way too much, like the landlords that are screwing New York residents with with rents that are way too high, and giving power to people who have too little of it. You know, the everyday families, working people in New York who are playing by the rules and just can't get ahead. I think he had a real focus on bold economic ideas. And if the Democratic Party borrows from that focus, I think we'll do really, really well.
The only way I can think to end this video is by the famous quote, which is often attributed to Thomas Jefferson, but it is not by him. I believe it is an anonymous quote, and we don't actually have a source. But if the government is big enough to give you everything you want, it is certainly big enough to take away everything you have. But as always, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So what do you think of Zohran Mamdani's idea? Do you agree with me that this is probably the leading edge, the cutting edge of the Democrat Party, and the rest of the Democrat Party is going to follow suit? Or do you think he's going to remain fringe and just an outsider voice in his own party, and the Democrat Party somehow, you know, is either going to go another way, they're going to come back to the center, or they're going to find another path that we have no idea yet, but it's not going to be Mamdani's path? Like, let me know where you think he's going to fit into the party. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.